Welcome to OpenTechTalks.tv, and let's welcome Marc Pickren, CEO of Springbot, to Open Tech Talks podcast. Thank you, Marc, for joining. So, for my listeners, if they are new to you, right? So, who's Marc? How they remember you? How they find you for today's session?
All of that good stuff. So, yeah, my name is Marc Pickren, and over the last 10 years, I've been primarily known as a turnaround CEO for software companies between $5 and $50 million. And you can find me on LinkedIn as my primary social channel, although I'm still on X, formerly known as Twitter. But most of my postings are either on Medium and or LinkedIn. Look, I basically in last year in May, I parted ways with after doing a recapitalization of a company, $140 million recapitalization of a $50 million, $15 million EBITDA business. And I said to myself, hey, it's 2025. What better time, or it's going to be 2025. What better time than to become an entrepreneur? And I hadn't been an entrepreneur since 2004. So I basically in at the end of January I was unemployed, gainfully
Right.
unemployed, I like to say, and then on February 1st, did a roll up of several different companies and under the Springbot banner. And
Mm-hmm.
Springbot's a company that had been around for about 12 years, raised about $35 million, and is a B2B to C marketing platform. And so I rolled together some different companies and software, and we now have a profitable, growing business.
Okay. And if nobody knows about Springbot and he's our or she's our listener, so for them to just links the dots, what this company or organization do?
Yeah. So, kind of our theme is building unkillable companies. And primarily, the company leverages playbooks that I created with my teams at the companies that we turned around. And a lot of that has to do with being extremely capital efficient and really analyzing marketing and sales metrics and product metrics to ensure that we're meeting the market so that our product is meeting market demand and taking what the market's giving us, but then also eliminating sort of wasteful spend around different vanity metrics that don't drive actual qualified revenue growth. And so the problems we solve, for marketing and sales teams is shrinking budgets, bigger targets, sales and marketing misalignment, underperforming lead generation, cold outreach fatigue, outdated websites and digital infrastructure, and navigating changing digital buyer demands, which, people that work in corporations are still people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so think about over the last, from the super system, the mobile super system to the AI super system, think about like all of the challenges and opportunities that each of those have presented. And our current AI super system is presenting numerous challenges, but a lot of opportunities. And so we just try and help people to wade through the information overload and to look at practical application of marketing to drive revenue growth.
Okay. And if we compare past and today, so is there a changes happening on adopting marketing or strategies, or how do you see?
My gosh, we could probably open up a bottle of wine and talk
Okay.
for a couple of hours. But the baseline is this, like, we've grown up in the internet super system and created advertising technologies, email marketing, mobile marketing, all of the display side platforms, ad tech, Facebook advertising, Google search, SEO. So let's take all of those, like SEO, site traffic's down 25% across the board.
Right.
And so optimizing your website for Google as opposed to optimizing your website for the answer engines is going to be a decreasing return on investment. And so there's strategies for how you make sure that your company shows up in the answer engines. I think ChatGPT just released that they have 8%. They went from 8% to 16% of search volume and crossed that threshold. And it's probably closer to 35% with if you add in perplexity. Paid advertising, really your options are like Facebook and Google paid ads. But if you have reduced people using the search engines, then those paid ads are going to be less and less. I think it's something like 70% of a Google search doesn't result in a click anymore. And
Hmm.
so it's leveraging these platforms. So I've always been very big on not depending upon third party services. So I don't do a lot of paid advertising. And so we've really narrowed down into email since it's a channel that everybody uses. And we devised some strategies for how brands can use cold email to re energize their dormant databases of customers as well as to find new ones.
Okay. So now maybe this brought me to a situation in where if someone is CEO or CMOs who are listening, now definitely they want to measure some metrics, right? So what are the key things for them as a priority?
Yeah. So when I was CEO of these companies,
Right.
having both an advertising and marketing and product background and tech background, I'm not a classically trained anything. First and foremost is let's take for example the conventional wisdom of putting a pop up on your website when somebody
Right.
lands. So first of all, I don't even know if I want to be on your website yet,
Hmm. True.
and you're already asking me for my personal information, and you're blocking me from accessing your information. So CMOs will come into their quarterly review meetings and will have the same PowerPoint deck that was developed in the previous year. And they'll say, look, we increased our subscribers by 12% over last year. Then you ask the question, well, how much revenue did that generate last year?
Hmm.
And how much is this increase generating now? And virtually the answer is nothing. Like, so we're investing in all of these friction based endeavors. And all we're doing is decreasing the quality of our brand as well as increasing the friction for conducting business. And my philosophy is that you shouldn't view your website as a brochure online. You should view it as the place where business is conducted. And the metrics that we really look at is conversations. So how many conversations did in the B2B segment, how many conversations via email, via chat, via SMS, if in some cases, are we generating with our sales teams from our marketing efforts?
Hmm.
And then you can focus on working with sales to define what are those quality conversations and how do we increase the meeting set rate and the demo rate and the close rate. So really focusing much more on removing marketing and sales as silos and looking at them as consolidated entities that serve the same purpose.
Okay. But now within the last 2 years of AI, generative AI, so is there like sales becoming more or less important in how it is with the, dominated by AI and automation? So what is the role left for them?
Yeah. So a lot of people, like when I corner them at social events and I start
Hmm.
talking about AI, they start wanting to run for the door
Right.
because I've gone through a phase of extreme AI infatuation and enthusiasm.
Okay.
And what we found is that, yeah, automations, leveraging intelligent business agents is what I call them,
Hmm.
to basically take over certain tasks. But
Right.
ultimately, business is still done one to one with a human. So, how can we use automation to get people to a conversation with a salesperson to where that prospect is already knows your pricing, already knows your unique value prop, already understands how this can impact their business. And the way that we've discovered to do that is to get rid of the demo call.
Okay.
So nobody wants to do a demo call.
Hmm.
Okay. Let's just be honest. Typically, you get on a demo call
Right.
and let's book a quick 15-minute meeting. All right. So, you can't do anything in 15 minutes.
Right.
Second of all, most of those conversations start with, how was your weekend?
Right.
So, like, as a buyer, you've allocated time on your calendar, you've gone to their calendar, you've gone to yours,
Mm.
you tried to
Mm-hmm.
connect all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're on this demo call, you're very busy, and somebody doesn't read the information you sent them ahead of time, why you're taking the call, hasn't done any research on your company. And therefore, it's a 15-minute kind of waste of time where they're verifying whether I'm qualified and I'm trying to verify whether they're qualified to even be on the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So, the way that we've addressed that is, and addressed it successfully in the past, is we start everything with a demo video,
Okay.
2 to 3 minutes, screen recorded by a salesperson or a person of knowledge within the
Mm-hmm.
company.
Mm-hmm.
And they screen record with a script, and then we apply multimedia to the background.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, they cover everything about that platform for that particular client, including oftentimes pricing.
Mm-hmm.
But when the client or prospect actually books the meeting, what are you doing? You're talking about doing business because they've already qualified you and you've already
Mm-hmm.
qualified them. And I've seen it work miracles in
Mm-hmm.
terms of, like, literally, even for our own business,
Mm-hmm.
we rarely have more than a 2 call close
Mm-hmm.
because everybody's already knows exactly what to expect from that phone call. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the things that I think, equate to reducing friction between getting people into a proactive conversation about doing business together.
Okay. And this no demo today or demo call, which you said it, is it these creating videos and all that, reducing that? That okay, I watch the video, then maybe I don't need a demo call, and then I can go ahead with the
Yeah, I mean, you
solution.
can use it for self-serve automation.
Okay.
You can leverage different tools
Okay.
to you can activate that video
Mm.
in terms of some ways in which you can ask questions and get
Okay.
answers and can lead people down a path. But ultimately, you're right. Like, the end goal would be as much self-service and
Okay.
self-onboarding as
Okay.
possible, and then leveraging the salesperson to be the responsible party for making sure the SLAs are set right, making
Okay.
sure that the agreement is set right, making sure that all of those things, and then just making sure that whatever you sold them is
Okay.
actually being delivered and
Got
onboarded.
it. Got it. Thank you. So now a lot of people think that AI is a magic bullet, but how should companies actually integrate AI into their sales systems, or how you are doing it?
So what we found, and I've actually got maybe 100 clips online
Mm-hmm.
in some interviews that I've done or
Mm-hmm.
facilitated. And what we found, so I'm gonna talk more qualitatively around
Right.
it because we don't have enough time to get into the hundreds of tools that are available.
Mm-hmm.
But the baseline is that what we have found is that if you tell your end user that you are an AI, so first and foremost, you need to, if you're using a automated sales agent, an intelligent business agent, you're using AI, you need to be upfront and transparent with the prospect. Because intuitively, we as humans know when we're being punked, if you
Right.
will, by a machine and whether it's fake. And many people consider AI fake. But if you tell them, no, this is an intelligent machine, actually, the customer sat scores for
Mm-hmm.
those intelligent business agents is
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes higher than the human.
Hmm.
Why? Because they don't get rattled. They
Mm-hmm.
speak 200 languages. They have 100% perfect recall. And they don't have any sort of commission incentive. They're purely there to be programmed to provide accurate product information and to answer questions.
True. Okay. So then maybe now thinking in if someone from the listeners and they just want to maybe have a go-to-market organization built from scratch, if they need to build it. So what could be the core stack look like, or maybe some of recipes which you practiced it, they can take it from you.
I'm glad you brought that up. So we actually have a product that is kind of built around called Start in the States.
Okay.
And what we've done is basically take largely European based software companies and or businesses, and we help them to enter the US market. So that would be kind of a fresh GTM, if you will.
Okay.
But it also can apply to established companies in the US that need a refresh in terms of their go to market strategy. The first thing that I've seen across the board in talking to hundreds of different prospects in both very traditional enterprise companies all the way through to startup, AI startups, et cetera, is that the biggest thing that you need to focus on is the quality of your data
Right.
and the fact of really identifying who a right fit customer is or your ideal customer profile as an ICP. Then once you've identified the DNA of a good customer, because like you'll spend 75% of your energy as a company on the 25% of the customers that shouldn't ever have been onboarded in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So once you make sure that you have the right ICP and the targeting, then it's about really making sure that you're leveraging your existing data
Mm-hmm.
and then creating that DNA and then going out to the market using, in our case, our database systems to identify lookalike audiences that are in similar positions with similar buying needs as that. Then it comes down to your messaging. And so, what I would tell folks is the idea of marketing messaging is totally different from sales messaging. And so, if you want to land in the inbox today, you
Mm-hmm.
have to, first of all, have a 100% text email. You can't have any links in it.
Okay.
You have to have warmed up email addresses that have a high score rate by Outlook and Google. Typically, the emails that you send want to be a variety of new domains and new email addresses that are built around not only your core business name, but are basically warmed up and allow you to send 40 to 50 emails per email address. And then your messaging needs to be, once again, focused on a very short, brief, text based message that asks people, can I send you a video with what I have in mind for you?
Hmm.
And what happens is as soon as they say yes,
Mm-hmm.
then you have permission from the inbox providers to engage in sharing links and data and information. And so if you think about the inbox providers, if I'm Microsoft and I'm Google,
Mm-hmm.
I want to protect my ecosystem and my asset. So they're setting up all these systems to prevent you from getting into the inbox. So you
Mm-hmm.
basically just have to play by the rules that they have set. And otherwise you're going to end up in the promotions box and or the
Mm.
spam box. And an interesting story is, or a funny story at least, we started this business as this is consolidated roll up in February in my promotions inbox. So I've only been in business 8 months with this particular company, although the company's been in business for decades.
Mm-hmm.
I have 15,860 emails in my promotion inbox that I have never opened up. Now, by the way, that includes like messages from my bank, messages from like, there's some important messages in there, but at the same point, they're being identified as marketing messages,
Marketing.
not transactional messages that I need to actually see in order to make sure that I'm running my life properly or my business.
Wonderful. I mean, you're giving a very good piece of advice for anyone to listening and they want to do it. So, Bobby, now with these new startups and AI and Gen AI, suddenly there's a mindset that started establishing that, okay, now everything is going into these large language models. And I don't need to do the traditional way of all those sales funnel and building the entire portfolio of marketing. Rather than I will just go and use some only content created with these agents and LLM, and that is my biggest hit of marketing. How do you seeing these? These are one-off successes, or there are patterns?
So go ahead and take a look at like Product Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of the the way that you launched a new product. In the last 2 years, there's been thousands of what I call wrapper products.
Right.
Literally, you're just wrapped around ChatGPT, on Anthropic, um, ever. And so the challenge is that by the time that you start using one particular platform, literally they become sunsetted. I don't know if that's a word, but they literally become like ChatGPT releases, let's say a new version, and it basically does what you're paying $19 a month on this platform. And
Mm.
so I think that what's important is that people not uh, get overwhelmed in terms of their enthusiasm and trying too many things. I mean, I had to clean up almost $3,000 in subscriptions off of our corporate credit card because those are products that we bought 7 months ago that we haven't used in 3 months. And then there's a lot of bad actors out there that are
Mm-hmm.
kind of fringe players that are touting all of these like, look at I laid off all my employees and I'm having my entire company run by an NAN workflow automation. Respond in LinkedIn and I'll send you the file. And all they send you is a basically a programming file that's nonsense that doesn't mean it doesn't allow you to do, it's not an instruction manual for doing anything. And so what they're hoping you're going to do is look at this and go, oh my gosh, that's super complex. I need to hire you to do what
Mm.
you say you can do. But in actuality, a lot of that is vapor. Just like with the internet, right? There was
True.
a lot of fringe folks that came around and did some arbitrage. I mean, that's really all a wrapper product is arbitrage off of the core LLM.
Okay. Good. Very good. Now, okay. So maybe what's your one unpopular opinion that you have about how modern companies should be prospecting or selling? Now we address this problem which you just mentioned. So now maybe there's a time where we need your expertise.
So there's a book that was written, it's a little old,
Mm-hmm.
but it's called The End of Average.
Okay.
And its opening phrases were something to the effect, and I paraphrase, those that learn to work cooperatively with intelligent machines have a very bright future. Those that view intelligent machines as competitors are not going to be around very long in terms of their career or their profession. And so I would say my most unpopular opinion
Mm-hmm.
is that people often tell me, well, AI can't be creative. Only 15 to 20% of people by the Myers-Briggs standard are creative. People experience 215 interruptions on their phone every day. If you average that to 2 minutes and you take that the average white collar worker in 2022 worked 32 hours a week, you take those interruptions, you're now at 27 hours a week. And so I think that my challenge is really making sure that the humans on the team are all given the opportunity to address their fears and concerns, but at the same point set the standard that this isn't negotiable. It's like trying to say that you're not going to use the internet today. So you have to set that standard. And I think that people have found my vigor
Mm-hmm.
for AI and solving problems has been maybe a little bit exaggerated and makes people uncomfortable. Now, replace AI with automation, which really is kind of what it is. And that even freaks people out even more. Like if you look at Taiwan Semiconductor, I believe this year will be like 90% robotic manufacture of semiconductors. So automation's scary, but there's got to be people that are sitting on top of the automations, and you want to be that person.
Okay. So now maybe before we conclude for today, and I would love to keep continuing the way we are discussing it. So maybe we talked about economic, some pressure, which we started with how you started business and organization. And then CMOs or CROs, what are the metrics they're looking, how the AI is playing around it. So what's the one skill or a mindset shift leaders need to do right now?
Curiosity. Conventional wisdom is a phantom and a lie. The half-life on experience is 6 months. So I'm using pharmaceutical terms in terms of the half-life on a medication. So you get your medication and in 6 months, it's half as the efficacy is at half. If you're coming in and thinking that you can leverage playbooks from 3 years ago or what you learned out of college, like you gotta stop. And so, I think that's kind of the curiosity aspect. Don't let it overwhelm you so that you're up at 12 o'clock at night signing up for subscriptions to a bunch of stuff. But there is an expectation, I believe, that anybody that is a part of a company in terms of growing that business has a duty and an obligation to be constantly looking outside of the company and finding out ways in which other people are solving the problems that you're having, and has the mindset of that curiosity. Like I don't like to hire people that were employed during COVID. I like people that have joined the workforce post-COVID, just because it artificially damaged so much of our view of work and the relationship that had been established. And I'm not saying, and so I like to hire folks that don't come with any of that baggage from the past.
Mm-hmm.
So curiosity, man.
Okay. Thank you so much. So now let me maybe it's my time to go for curiosity. What would you say to a founder, or maybe someone is just starting and is working in maybe a large enterprise, or he's starting his own business or a startup, whatever you call it, as a wrapper or building it from scratch, a very difficult product or manufacturing. So without any predictable sales, because they don't know and they don't have a pipeline. So what is your recommendation or suggestions for him maybe at the middle of 2025, how they look forward to next years?
So I helped launch a book called Pivoting as a Way of Life by Joseph Hanna, which is basically a book that was written that the new forward for product teams is constant pivoting and evolution. That used to be a 4-letter word. When you would talk to investors, we're going to pivot. And product market fit is a very fluid thing right now. Like, you may have a punch point that somebody cares about today, and 6 months from now, they may not care about that. And look, 30 something billion dollars is spent on cancer research in the United States. I think it's something like $118 billion was spent on product features at software companies that nobody cares about. So don't leave yourself open and do lots of micro testing with your actual target audience to validate whether or not what aspects of your software or your service or your whatever are actually resonating with the audience today, and allow your audience and your prospects to build your product for you. And, we could talk for hours on the institutional investment marketplace, which, if I were to give advice to a founder, look, the cost of capital is about 16 to 18% for a good company today. Money was free 3 years ago. And so when your investor says, spend money to grow at all costs, understand that in a year, 2 years, or 3 years, that money may not be there again. And if you have not cost effectively acquired companies on a CAC to CLTV basis, CLTV to CAC, customer lifetime value to the cost of acquiring, then you are going to have a very serious reckoning. And you may find that the 2 to 3 years of your blood, sweat, and tears vanishes in the blink of an eye. And/or the terms are going to be so onerous when you go back to raise that you're going to lose your company.
All right. Very concluding remarks. I think that's wonderful. No, you said it straight. That's important. And I think that's the reality. Someone has to listen to that one. And you rightly said these features and functions, and I'm also going through personally in the same problem. I mean, my brother was doing some business, and then he was building something in which nobody wants it. And then once he reached out to someone, and then he said, I want X, Y, Z, but you build something else which I never tried it in. So that's you're right.
Well, and also, let's say you have a great idea and you have people that want to buy it and you're solving
Mm,
a pain point.
mm,
Execution. Like,
like so-
if you don't have the related infrastructure to be able to service your customer at a high level, because what's the most important thing for a new company? Case studies.
yes.
You go to a new company and they say, send me 2 people I can call to validate that you do what you do. And if you don't have those, then you're in hot water. And if you've gone out and acquired a bunch of clients but have missed the ball on servicing them, then they're not going to give you a positive review, and you're gonna look foolish. Well, you told me
True.
you have 100 clients paying you and you can't give me one person that will vouch for you. So you've got to be very careful about making sure that you are servicing the customers at a super high level.
Right. Thank you so much, Mark, for joining for a wonderful talk. And if someone wants to reach out to you, or what is the best medium or any social link or anything you want to leave
Yeah,
for us?
I have. Yeah, I would just say LinkedIn. Just go to LinkedIn, look for MARC, Mark Pickren, Pickren. Drop me a DM, review some of my clips, tell me I'm crazy, whatever. I love to get into just good conversations. And if anybody out there needs help, like I'm happy to, I sit on Reddit a lot and provide advice free of charge to small business folks anonymously. And so I'm always just happy to see if I can't connect people and help them to be successful, because when you're an entrepreneur, you wake up every morning with this pit in the stomach as to how you're going to make it. And it's always, I feel it's when a business fails, it not only hurts that family and that person, but the entire community and the very social fabric of our country or your country or the world. It stretches thin a little bit. And I don't want anybody to, I don't,
Right. 100%. True. Thank you so much. Thank you.
all right, my friend. All right. It's been a pleasure.